Welcome to the WordPress tutorial for 2022. The goal here is to make this one of the best tutorials you're going to watch on how to use WordPress. I'm literally going to show you everything you need to know about WordPress. So stay tuned for this full tutorial. And if you find it as one of the top tutorials you've watched on how to use WordPress, help me out by hitting that like button and commenting below in the comments. This was an amazing tutorial so that we can get this tutorial seen by others. Again, I'm going to go in depth here and we're going to try to make this the best tutorial out there on WordPress. So starting off with your new WordPress website, I'm going to assume you just bought your hosting plan, you've bought your domain URL, and you've already installed WordPress to your domain URL. So my domain URL, for example, is up here. It is nixdemowebsite.com. It's a demo website that I use to do these tutorials. So I've already installed WordPress through my hosting company to this URL. So now I've gone to the login URL. So you can either access your WordPress login from your hosting account, or you can type in the domain name /wp-login.php. You can also do wp-admin, and that'll redirect you to this link. So it's redirected us overall to this page where we can type in our username or email address and then our password, and we can go ahead and click on login to get logged into the dashboard of our WordPress site. I always like to check remember me so that the next time you come to the login page, it already kind of pre-fills in your information. So all you have to do is click login, or it'll save your information. So all you have to do is start to type it in and it'll auto-fill it from there. So it saves a lot of time. If you don't trust, having it autofill, you can manually type it in as well each time you come to the login screen. Now we're going to go ahead and type in our information here. We're going to click login, and then I'm going to start showing you how to use WordPress from the WordPress dashboard. All right, so the minute we log in to our WordPress dashboard, we've got these different tabs down the left-hand side. This is going to be where we navigate around the back end of our WordPress website. Again, WordPress is super easy once you learn all these different tabs, what they do, what settings are in each of these different tabs and these menus that have drop downs. Once you learn how to navigate around WordPress, you'll realize that WordPress is really beginner friendly. It's not very difficult, especially if this is your first website you're making. So starting off with the dashboard tab, this is the very first one here at the top. It's kind of just a summary page. It shows you different things here as we install different plugins, different themes, different aspects to our website over time. More things will come here to the summary page. So really, the dashboard tab isn't super important. There's not much here on the home page here. Now, updates is kind of important from time to time. You can find updates here underneath the dashboard menu drop down here. So updates are where you're going to actually click to do different updates. So sometimes plugins get out of date. Sometimes themes are out of date and they need updated to the latest versions so that they are compatible with the latest version of WordPress. So WordPress is always updating, adding new features, fixing bugs, things like that. And so sometimes these add-ons, these plugin creators, these softwares that people are creating to go with WordPress, they also need updated from time to time so they stay compatible with WordPress. So that's not much to it on the dashboard tab. So let's go ahead down to the next tab, and that is posts. So posts is where you're going to start writing blog posts. So you can go to all posts to see a summary page that shows all your blog articles that currently exist. In this case, you should have 0 blog articles starting out on a brand new website. So when we open up this page, we're going to see a blank list here. Now over time, as we add new posts, we can see up to 20 blog articles on the first page here. So as we would scroll down, we could go to page 2, page 3, etc. to see extra blog articles. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is click this add new button. You can also find it here under posts. There will be a pop down menu and you can find add new as well. So there's 2 different ways there. You can also go to this new drop down menu up here in the top bar. It also has where you can add a new post here. So there's 3 different ways there to add a new blog post. So I'm going to go ahead and right click, open in a new tab so that we can show you what the blog post page looks like. So starting off a couple years ago, WordPress started phasing out their classic editor and they started going with this new block editor. So it says, welcome to the block editor. We can go ahead and click next and it'll give us a little tutorial. So there's going to be different blocks that make up a page. So we've got text blocks, we've got images, we've got videos, different things we can add into a page. So you can see these different icons here stand for different things that we can add from the block library into the page here. So again, if you want to add text, if you want to add pictures, if you want to add videos, quotes, you can find those in the block library and just click on them to add them into your overall page. So we'll go ahead and click on Get Started here. So anytime we're writing a blog article, we'd give it a title to start off. So we'll put add title here. So let's just say I started a fitness website. So this would be how to lose weight in 30 days. That could be the title of my article. Now we're going to click in here and we can start typing our article. So in this article, I'm going to share with you how to lose 30 pounds in 90 days. So we can write off the bat, start with some kind of text there. Now, as we want to add more things here, we can see this little box. All I had to do was kind of just hover my mouse over the text. This box pops up. So we have a paragraph. We have indenting if we want to underline it, left, right, center. We can bold it, italicize it. We can add links. So if I wanted to highlight, maybe if I wanted to link this out to some sort of weight loss supplement from Amazon that people can click to and go purchase on Amazon, I could click on the little link here after highlighting the text, type in my URL or paste my URL. We can open it in a new tab so that when people click on that link, it'll take them to a new tab so they don't leave your website. They'll go to Amazon through a new tab on their browser. So those are some different options here. We can start typing in the URL. If we're sending them to an existing page on our website, maybe one of our product pages we created already on our website, or another blog article we want to link to, we can start typing in some of the title of that page and it'll pull up that in a drop-down list here so we can see that article and just click on it. So we don't have to memorize or go find the URL and copy paste it. We can just start to type it in and it'll find that page if it's already existing on our website. So we can come here to this little plus icon and this is where we can add additional blocks. So maybe we want to add this time a image. So we can click on add an image and now it'll pop in a little image block so we can click upload and we can pull an image off of our computer. And then maybe the next block, so we can click this little plus icon here to hit another block. Now this time maybe we want to go back and add another paragraph after the image. So now we'd start typing more article. So you can go through here and kind of build out your article and design the page how you want it with different paragraph blocks, different image blocks, video blocks, etc. So let me go ahead and click on the plus sign one more time and we're going to show you some of the different things you can do here to your page. So we can add paragraph blocks. We have a heading. So if you want to add different sections to your article, maybe the general theme is how to lose weight in 30 days, but then we create some subheadings. So maybe one of them is, how to lose weight by cutting out sugar, and then another section of our page might start talking about how to lose weight through exercise. So we can chop it up into different sections using headings. We can create bulleted lists or numbered lists by using the list block. We can add quotes. We can add in custom code if you know some code, like you need to paste in an embed code of some sort of weight loss calculator that you pulled some code off the internet for. If you want to make a table, showing how tall certain people are and how much they should weigh based on their height, for example. If we scroll down here to the media section, these are all the different media blocks. So if you want to add in a video block, an image block, an audio block, you can add in a whole gallery. You can add media and text together. So there's different things there. Design-wise, you can add in buttons. You can separate a certain section of your page into different columns so that it's not all stacked on top of each other. You can actually make things side by side using columns. There's rows here, there's page breaks, separators, and spacers. So these are the design elements. And then we have widgets if you want to add in a calendar, different categories, so some different things like that, social icons. So you can just kind of play around here, scroll through here and see all these different block options you have available, different things you can embed here like YouTube, Spotify. So overall, that's how you'll build out your blog article, writing a combination of text, adding in different elements like images, videos, until you feel like you've crafted the perfect blog article. So when you're done writing your blog article, the next thing you want to do is come over here to the right side. So this is where you're going to find the publish button, or if you're not quite ready to publish, you want to give it some time, maybe review it tomorrow, you can save it as a draft and it'll save to our posts library. So you'll come back here and you'll find it saved as a draft next time you want to access it. But if you are ready to publish, you have a couple options. You can publish right now, or you can schedule the post to go out in the future. So we've got some additional settings here. So that's going to close that tab. If you want to have a blank workspace and not have all this congestion on your page, you can click on this little gear icon to get rid of and toggle the settings away. Now, once you press it again and it highlights black, now you can go back and forth between post and block. So post, this is where you're going to find some of the key things that you need to do after you're done creating your blog article. So again, this is where you'll find the status of your post. It's currently set to public. If you want to publish immediately, we just click publish. Now, if we want to schedule, then we come here to where it says publish immediately. We click on that, and now we can choose from the calendar what date we want to schedule the article to go out. Then we can click here, stick to the top of the blog, pending review. We have the author option. So this is if you've got multiple authors on your website and you want to credit a certain person, if it's a certain person writing for you. If you're tired of this article and you want to trash it, you can move it to the trash with the move to trash button. There's also templates. In this case, we're just using a single post. That's what I use for the majority of my blog posts, but you can find other default templates like the single post. There's sometimes video templates that you can start with. I would just leave it set to single post. You can already add in those different widgets and blocks inside your single post style template as it is. So you don't need to worry about messing with template necessarily. But sometimes if you want to build a template ahead of time to save some time, that might be an option. Permalink, you can go ahead and leave it how it is, or you can see what the actual URL is. So in this case, it's nicksdemowebsite.com, and then you see these little codes here. So when we go ahead and publish our page, there's usually a way to customize the URL. So it'll say nicksdemowebsite.com/how to lose weight in 30 days. So that'll be like the extra text you see after that slash mark that gives this page its own unique URL. That's what's going to differentiate it from another article that's got a different title. It'll have a different set of text here. Now I'm going to show you how to change this so it doesn't show the numbers and it actually shows the title as the wording that goes after that slash mark here coming up shortly in our settings when we start to get into our WordPress settings. As we move down here, categories, this is where we can set different categories. So previously I created some demo categories. So we could click on fitness tips, for example, since this ties into fitness that we're talking about. If we want to tag, we can add additional tags here so that we can further refine our search if we ever need to find, certain keywords related to this article. And then lastly, add a featured image that represents this post. So this is where we can go to different websites. One, for example, would be Pexels.com. So if we go to Pexels.com, that's a free stock photo website. You can literally download photos without creating an account, without paying for them. So in this case, I could just type in fitness, hit enter, and you're going to see a bunch of different fitness articles come up. So maybe I picked this one where the person's bending down to grab the weights. We can come over here and click on free download, or we can click the arrow to pick a certain sized image. In this case, I'll pick the medium sized image since it's 1280 by 853 pixels. That's a pretty big image size. We don't need these really big images because they're going to have really big file sizes, and that can slow down your website. So it's important when you're putting images on your website to make sure you're optimizing the image sizes so that the size of the file for the image doesn't slow down your website when your website tries to load a really big filed image. So in this case, we'll pick on the medium one, click download, selected size. It's going to download it to my computer. And then all we have to do is come back here to our post, click on set featured image, and I'm going to grab that image off my computer. So we'll come in here to the featured image. It says media library. We currently don't have any images in our media library, so we're going to grab one off our computer to be our first image. So we'll grab this one. We'll come back here, click open. Now we also want to add some alt text here. This is where we can add in text to tell Google what our image is about, so that Google can display it in Google Images. Sometimes people go into Google Images and they search different things, and our image might come up and people might come to our website through Google Images. So it's a way to get some extra traffic to your website. So in this case, we might type in fitness tips to lose weight. All right, we can make sure we give our image a title. So I might copy paste this so that the title and the alt text are the same. Feel free to give a caption or description if you wish. I usually leave these alone. and then we're going to click on set featured image. So now our article is going to have a set featured image. That way when it's out on our blog page and people are scrolling through our blog page looking at all the different articles we have on our website, they'll be able to see the title, maybe a little excerpt of our article, and they'll see the featured image with each article that we have published to our website. So that's pretty much the basics of how to use the blog editor. You come in here, give it a title, write some text, add some different content blocks using the little plus icon here to toggle different blocks that you can insert into the page. When you're done, you give your blog post a category so you can keep your blog articles organized on your website. Give it a featured image, add some alt text to that featured image. Again, you can go to pexels.com to download free stock photos to use for your website blog articles. And then lastly, you want to make sure your permalink is set correctly. It should automatically default to using the title in your URL structure, so you shouldn't have to change it. But if you ever have to manually change it, you can just click here to change it. Lastly, choose if you're ready to publish now, or if you want to click on this to schedule using a calendar. So we're going to go ahead and just click publish now so that we can go ahead and get this one into our post page. So I'm going to come back here to my post page. I'm going to hit the refresh button, and now we're going to see our first blog article. It shows it's been published here on March 31st at 1:55 a.m. That's not really the time right now. That's a setting. Again, we're going to have to go in here to our settings down here pretty shortly and show you how to adjust the time settings based on what time zone you are in. So now, anytime I want to come back and edit this article in the future, if I want to add additional images to it, if I need to change links or make the article longer and add additional content, we can come into posts, we can find the article we want to edit, and as we hover over the title here, you'll see this little drop down of different items. We can click on view to go see the article live on our website. We can also click on edit to open the editor back up to the editing page we were just on. So I'm going to go ahead and click view this time so we can actually go out and just take a quick look at how the article looks. Now, it was an incomplete article, but you can see it's got the title, the featured image, and then it's got some of our text starting off here, and then it's got the date it was published, the author, and it has the category down here in the footer. All right, so I'm going to click out of that. We're going to go back in here and continue moving on. So add new is how you add a new post. Next, we can go into categories. This is where you can set up some categories that you want to create for your website if you know you're going to be blogging about different topics. Now, again, a blog is one of the best ways to get traffic to your website because these articles get published to your website and then Google searches them and finds them, and Google will put them into Google so that as people are searching Google, they might find your articles get displayed in the Google search results. So for example, other fitness websites, fitness tips to lose weight. So anybody who searches Google for fitness tips to lose weight is going to get displayed all these different articles on that topic. So these are websites that have already written blog articles similarly to what I was just doing on my website. They've already done that. They've already put out blog articles covering different fitness tips on how to lose weight. So Google found those articles, indexed them into Google. So now when people search these terms into Google, they're going to get shown these different options to click on and read. So we can scroll through here and find all these different articles. We can click and read. So that's how your website can get initially found, is by creating blog articles and getting found on Google from Google searchers who are out there looking for the content that you're creating blog articles around. So make sure you're doing research, figuring out what people are searching for on Google and how to create content around those searches so that you can position your website to get website traffic from Google searches. So categories, again, this is where we can create different categories if we know there's going to be different topics after we've done research and we figured out what our website's about, what kind of content we want to blog about, and we come up with these different categories that we're going to organize our blog articles throughout. So all we're going to do here is just type in a name of a new category. So in this case, I can just call it weight loss tips. And then we're going to go ahead and just click add new category. It'll automatically give it its own custom slug, which is going to be weight-loss-tips. So it just takes those three words and puts a little dash between them. Now, if we wanted to customize the slug, we could have put our own custom slug in there. So it could have just said weight-loss, and we could have got rid of the word tips. But in this case, I like how it just uses all three words. So anytime we create an article around weight loss tips, we can give it that category when we're setting up the blog post, And now we can come here and we can see how many articles we have currently about weight loss tips. In this case, we can see I just added that first blog article to the fitness tips category when I was showing you it a minute ago. So we can see there's one article currently categorized to fitness tips. So if you ever want to come in and search by a category to see all the articles you currently have under a category, you can come here to view, or you can click over on this number here under count. And here's the slug you can see as well. So if you ever want to give a URL for someone to come directly to a specific category of blog articles, so in this case, nixdemowebsite.com takes them to my home page. But if they go to nixdemowebsite.com / and then they type in fitness-tips, that URL will take them to the fitness tips category page where they can scroll a list of articles that have been published related to fitness tips. So these slugs are useful if you want to create custom links that you can link to on your website to send people to specific category pages so they can find relevant content related to a certain category. So that's about all there is here on categories. Tags, this is where you can create additional different tags on your website that people can do some different searches. Sometimes people add a search bar on their website, and if people type in certain keywords, so if they would type in fitness, if they would type in weight loss, if any article's been tagged fitness or weight loss, those are keywords that might flag in the search results that come up if you have a search bar on your website. I currently don't use a search bar on my website, so tags are kind of irrelevant to me. I don't necessarily use them, but this could be a useful feature you might enjoy having on your website to help people find content, usually on media, news magazine, article magazine type websites where they have tons of content. They usually will have a search feature where people can type things into a search bar. So tags might be a little more useful for that. All right, so I think we've covered posts pretty thoroughly, showing you how to create your first blog post, how to access all your blog posts under all posts, and how to categorize blog articles and give them tags. So let's go ahead down to settings first. Let's go ahead and show you some general settings you want to get set up when you first start your new WordPress website. So we're going to click here into general. This is the very first option. So if we just hover over settings, you're going to have this menu kind of pop out here on its own. So we'll click on general here. All right, so some general website settings here. Starting off, you're going to have a site title. So mine just says demo website. So I could give this a new title if I wanted to say, fitness tips, or if I have a fitness brand name, Nick's Fitness, I could just put that in. So give your site a title here, give yourself a tagline. These won't really show up out on your website usually unless you don't have your own custom logo. Then sometimes you can use the site title in replace of your logo, and sometimes your tagline in the menu bar as well. But for the most part, these might be irrelevant. They might not even show up out on your website, but it's still good to set the proper site title and tagline just in case Google is scanning your website. It'll help tell Google what your website's about, and that might help your website show up better in the Google search results. Next, we've got WordPress address URL. This should automatically be filled in on its own when you set up and install WordPress. So you shouldn't have to mess with anything here. You want to make sure it's showing the HTTPS. Nowadays, websites are secure when they have the little S on the end. So if it just says HTTP, it's not secure. The S means secure. It's kind of a technical detail, but sometimes when you go to certain websites, you might get a notification that pops up. You'll notice it'll say, this website is not secure. All that means is the website's still running on the old HTTP instead of running on HTTPS. So new websites should by default already be on HTTPS. So that's one thing you might want to notice here. If your website says HTTPS, that's a good thing. Then you're going to have these double backslashes and then your domain name. So you want to leave that as is. You want to leave site address as is. They should match and be equal to each other. Next, we've got admin email address. This will be the email address you used when you installed WordPress and you were setting up your username and password. So that should be filled in. This is where emails will get sent to if it relates to admin functions on your website. So sometimes when people leave comments on your website, this would be the email address that you'd get notified that there's a new comment someone left on your website. Membership. You want to leave anyone can register unchecked unless you want to run a membership website where anybody can sign up to be a member of your WordPress site. There's other plugins for that feature if you're trying to offer like paid memberships, like if I was offering fitness videos and I wanted to lock them up so that only members could access them if they paid for them. There's other ways to do that. Membership really is kind of more or less if you're trying to create a membership of who can comment on blog articles and who's reading your articles. So I typically leave this alone and just leave this unchecked. New user default role, subscriber, that's going to be there automatically by default, and that's how you probably want to set it. If it's on anything else, I would turn it back to subscriber. You don't want to give them access to being an admin or a contributor or an editor because random people finding your website, they should only be subscribers where they get updates when you publish new content. They shouldn't have access to any settings or back end of your website. Site language, this is set to English on mine for the United States. You can change it based on what type of website you're trying to run. And then here's time zone that we talked about earlier. When we publish blog articles, it'll display a date and time that it was published. Same when we're trying to schedule to go out at a certain time. You want to make sure you have your time zone set. So here's where we're going to go ahead and find our time zone. So in the United States, I happen to be the Eastern time zone. So I'm just going to scroll up here until I find some cities that are Eastern time zone. So Indiana, for example, has Eastern time zone. So we'll click on the one that says Indianapolis. So now we're set to the Eastern time zone. So I can go ahead and save down here at the bottom. Date format by default should be, a nice looking date here, March 31st, 2022. Time format, we've got 2:01 a.m. These are just personal preferences of what you want to see on the back end settings. When you're looking at dates of your articles, when you are publishing articles and pages, it'll display dates and times. So these are just display settings, your own personal preference. I'm just going to leave them default as is. Same with when the week starts. I prefer the week to start on a Monday. So I went ahead and hit save to save the changes that I made here. So now the Indianapolis time zone was saved. So that's the general settings. Next, we'll go into writing. So this ties into the blog posts type of settings that we can customize. So default post category, we can give it a default category if we wanted to. So if every article I want to start out as being a weight loss tips category, if that's all I'm going to be writing about, we could just leave that as the default post category. Typically, I just leave it as uncategorized and I manually categorize it when I'm in each individual blog post, creating the blog post for the first time. The default post format, we're going to leave set to standard. Now there's also other types of posts formats I mentioned earlier. You can have video, audio, image post formats and templates, but we just leave it to the standard text-based post format. We've got these different mail server login passwords. This has to do if you're trying to post articles via email. So if you're trying to set up and post to your WordPress site using email, you could connect here. I've never done this. I don't know anybody who really uses this. It's just an extra feature, I guess, if someone has access to their email and they want to try to upload articles via email. I prefer just to log in manually on my computer to my WordPress backend and go to posts, go to add new, and just add an article that way. All right, so that's writing. Not much to really do here. You can pretty much just leave this tab alone unless you want to set a default post category. So let's go ahead into reading, where we're going to have a couple key things to note here. So in the reading tab here, we've got blog posts, how many we want to show. So in this case, we're going to try to show 10 posts, and then we're going to have syndication feeds shown the most recent for 10. So this is default. You can pretty much leave it alone. Now, in your blog feed, you can choose if you want to show the full text or an excerpt. I prefer to show an excerpt, and sometimes it'll ask you if you want to show a certain amount of words in an excerpt, so you can set it to 10 words, 25 words, 50 words. All right, then discourage search engines from indexing this site. We want to leave that alone. We want our blog articles to get found by Google so that they can get indexed. People can search and find our website. Now, if you don't want your website found via Google search, that would be a time where you could discourage search engines. But again, one of the best ways to get traffic to your website, to get people to find you, is through Google search. So we want to be visible for the search engines. This is Google, this is Bing, this is Yahoo, there's DuckDuckGo. There's other search engines out there that people are using, like Safari if they're on their iPhone. So you want to make sure you're visible in the search engine. So leave this box unchecked, and then we'll click Save Changes. All right, next let's go into discussion. Discussion means comments. So there's a comments tab up here where you can manage comments. You can delete comments, report comments as spam. You can approve comments if you want to approve them as good comments that show up on blog articles at the bottom. Now, discussion is where you can control some of those settings for comments. So you can read through all these different settings here. There's quite a few. We'll start with some of the basics. We have default post settings. So you can attempt to notify any blogs linked to from the post. So if you're linking out to another WordPress blog, it might attempt to notify them that you link to them and let them know. You can also allow link notifications from other blogs called pingbacks and trackbacks on new posts. So this might alert you if your blog gets linked to from other blogs out there that are WordPress. You can allow people to submit comments on new posts. So if you want to go ahead and allow people to comment, if you're trying to create engagement on your blog articles, you can check box this here, allow people to submit comments on new posts. Now, if you're allowing it, then that's where some of these other settings come into play. So the comment author must fill out their name and email. This should be default checked. That way you get rid of a lot of spam because, spam bots won't be able to do this type of stuff. There's users must be registered and logged in to comment. You can also make them, create a user account and actually log in. So again, adding extra steps, which might be necessary if you're trying to combat spam, because believe it or not, you will get a ton of spam comments. It's just random stuff trying to promote, antibiotics, probiotics, vitamins, all kinds of crazy websites they're trying to link to and spam on your website to get people to go to. So spam gets really annoying. I usually turn comments off because it's really just not that popular anymore on blogs. It's more social media these days that you want to be having comments and engagement with your audience, not so much on blog articles. So I usually leave it off, but it's a personal preference if you choose to allow comments. But again, you're going to want to combat spam by installing spam blocker plugins and setting up some of these settings to make it harder for people to actually post comments unless they're real human beings. So it kind of slows down the spam. We have show comment cookies and opt-in checkbox allowing comment author cookies to be set. Again, cookies are a way for websites to kind of track people, and so that's something that's just kind of checked by default. I would just leave that alone. Enable threaded nested comments. So if people are replying to comments and replying to those replies and replying to those replies, it can create these nested comments. So again, we'll leave that alone. Anyone can post a comment. Well, if that happens, if anyone posts a comment, you'll get email notifications. So here's email me whenever. Now, if you have comments set up to where you want to moderate them, so you have to manually approve them before they show up on your blog article. That way you can make sure there's no hate speech and negative comments maybe you want to control. You can set that up so you'll get email notifications whenever someone comments, and then you can log into your website and manually approve them if necessary. Before a comment appears, comment must be manually approved. So that's what I was just talking about. You have that automatically checked here. And then comment author must have a previously approved comment. So that also, if you decide to get rid of the manually approved function, you can allow comments to get published automatically without your approval. But if that's the case, you might want to have this checked where they have to have a previously approved comment. Maybe you had this turned on for a little while before and were manually approving stuff. So this might actually hold up a comment. If it's their very first comment ever, it might hold it up for a review. If it's their second comment, they've done one before, then it might automatically publish. That way it's a way, again, of combating spammers for the first time that are trying to comment. You can delete them, report them as spam, and you can approve people that are legit, that post legit comments. And then in the future, you don't have to worry about approving them since they're legit. They will automatically just post since they have a previously approved comment. All right, so a lot there going on. Sorry if it got a little boring. Discussion settings. Again, you can kind of discard all these if you don't even want to have comments on your blog. All right, let's get into media. Media is going to have to do with our media library. So that's this tab up here. So you can see that some of these different setting tabs down here under settings correspond with tabs up here. So we had the writing settings, which corresponds with our post tab. We had the reading tab. We had discussion, which went with comments. And then now we have media, which goes up here with media. So in our media library, every time we upload images, images are going to have their own special image sizes unless we resize images ahead of time before we upload them. So for example, an image might come in at 2000 by 1800 pixels. Another image might come in at 3000 by 2000 pixels. Now, once your images are in your media library, you can go ahead and have these default sizes set up if you want to put a certain sized image in your web page, so you don't have to manually resize each image to be that exact size you want. So for example, if we want to go ahead and upload an image and put it into our blog post, we can choose that image size to be large. So it'll resize that image from 3000 pixels by 2000 pixels. It'll resize it into a 1200 by 1200 image size, or whatever that ratio would be. It'll make sure one of the widths or the heights is set to 1200, and then it'll take that same ratio size that your image is. So if your image is like 3 pixels wide for every 2 pixels tall, it'll take that same ratio and fix it here. So your image will go in 1200 pixels wide by 800 pixels tall to keep that 3:2 ratio, for example. So you can set these default sizes. Maybe you want your medium sizes to actually be 800 by 800. Maybe you want your large size to be 1500 by 1500. So you can play around with these default sizes for medium and large. A lot of times I just leave the image its default size when I import it into my website, unless it's a really big image size where it's going to be too bulky and take up too much space on the page. Then I might choose to have it shrunk down to one of these default sizes. So all we're going to do is click Save Changes after we adjust these default sizes. So there's really not much here in the media settings. All right, permalinks. This one's important. We want to go ahead and have post name checked. It should be checked by default, but sometimes plain is automatically checked, and that's the one that has P equals and then a number after it. We want the URL to be the post name, so it should say nixdemowebsite.com/ and then whatever my post title was. So how-to-lose-weight. So each word will have a dash between it. So if my article title was how to lose weight, it would be how-to-lose-weight. So dashes in between each word. So those words would follow my domain name. So that's the URL custom for that article. So if we were trying to send someone to that specific page, that specific article, that would be, that URL. So post name is the one we want checked. We don't want to have these custom numbers and dates in the URL. That just makes it too complicated when you're trying to give out the URL to someone, or you're trying to link to one of your pages from social media and you're trying to remember what the code and numbers were. Instead, just know that you want it to be the post title, the post name. All right, so that's all there really is there to do on permalinks. Lastly, we have privacy. If you want to create a privacy policy, you can set up a privacy policy page here that lets people know how their data is being used, what's going on the back end on your website. Because some people, might not want to visit your website unless they look at a privacy policy page first. But in other words, I usually leave this alone. I don't mess with it. So that's the settings, pretty straightforward. Just some general settings here we need to tweak before we get started with our WordPress site to make sure things are up in order. Now let's go over a couple other tabs to go over the basics on, and then we'll get over this boring stuff. I know this is all the boring stuff, but again, this has to be one of those all in-depth tutorials where I don't skip over any part of WordPress, because there's going to be someone in the comments who says, you didn't show how to do this or this, so I got to cover everything. So we've covered settings, we've covered posts so far, we've covered dashboard. All these other ones are going to get more exciting here shortly. So let's go ahead into tools. Tools, again, this is where we can import data. We can export data from our website. These I don't ever really use, so they're not really that important right now. It's more down the road. If you're going to migrate a website, you might need to export at some point if you're trying to migrate your WordPress files. We've got personal data, erase personal data. Again, these are new things that got added with the whole privacy policy that started coming up back a couple years ago. Don't really need to do much with those. You don't need to mess with theme or plugin editors. This is where you get into coding, and that can mess your website up. So all this stuff we're pretty much going to leave alone for now. I do want to note, tools, this drop-down menu, take note of what things you see here by default. These are going to be here by default. Now, in the future, when we add plugins here, when we start to add some plugins, these are additional softwares and functions and features we add to our website to give it more features. Think of it like adding apps on an iPhone. You go to the App Store, you find these different apps, you click install. Now you have these apps on your phone that you can play around with, and you added new features to your phone. That's kind of how a website is. Plugins are like apps. You go in here, you find different fun things you want to add to your website, you install the plugin, now it's part of your website. Sometimes plugins will come down here and you'll find settings to some plugins under tools. So if you've installed a plugin and you're like, where are the settings that I need to go in and change or customize for this plugin, and you can't find the plugin anywhere here on your menu bar, check under tools. You might find it here in the drop-down menu. Same with settings. The settings tab is where a lot of plugins will fall under. So right now you can see there's only a couple different things here that are by default on a basic WordPress site. But as we start adding plugins, there will be different plugins that you'll see show up here under settings, and that's where you can click on those plugins and you can go in and customize the settings for them. All right, users. This is where you can add users to your website. So if you want to add authors, contributors, if you're a team and you want to add additional people to contribute to your website, it's not just you. You can add additional users. You can define their role. So you can give them the role of editor or admin where they have complete access to everything, or you can give them a more limited role, again, like editor, contributor where they're an author. So add new would be how you add new users. And then all users is where you can see a list of everybody who signed up and created an account. So they're users on your website. And then you have your own profile. You can go in and customize your name, your contact information, your little logo or picture. If you have an author page that shows up underneath each blog article, you might want your own custom picture of yourself and your name and a little bio about yourself. So you can do those sorts of things here under profile. So I'm just going to kind of skip over it again. I want to get to more important stuff here on WordPress that most people are dying to get into, as this video has probably bored you by now. All right, so brand new WordPress site. Let's just assume you want to get to the basics. You want to skip over all the settings and all the non-important stuff. So the first thing you're going to do, log into your WordPress website. You're going to want to install a theme. A theme is what's going to give your website design and function and look and style so it looks pretty when people shop around your website. So we're going to go under appearance. Again, themes, it's a style thing. It's design. It's how your website looks. So that makes sense that it's under the word appearance. So just remember that. Memorize that appearance is where you're going to find themes. So we'll click on themes. Again, I'm just going to open it in a new tab. So starting off, you're going to have the default WordPress theme. So I've got the 2022 WordPress theme created by the WordPress team. This is a really lightweight, basic theme. So if we go out to my website, it's just going to be like a blank white page, basically. I don't even know. So here you've got this little bird and you've got your first blog article that we published earlier. So it's just a real basic, lightweight theme. So it doesn't look that good. So I always like to go to add new, and I like to try to search their theme library and find one that fits what I'm looking for. So they've got over 4,700 different themes here. So we can kind of get a preview here, just kind of visually glancing at the cover image here as we scroll down to see each of these different themes, how it would kind of look. So this one called Nev, for example, you can see here it's got kind of a menu bar up top. It's got the Nev logo, and then it's got the home, about, the blog, the shop, the contact. Then it kind of has some text here, a couple of buttons. It's got a background image. Then we've got some different icons and text here. So you can kind of get an idea of how the layout would be with this theme, for example. As we scroll down here, again, you can see some of these other themes, how they have different designs. This is more of a an article type theme. You've got a car kind of news setup theme, so like news articles there. So you can scroll down and just take a look. Now, what I like to do personally, if you're new to WordPress, you might like, kind of picking out a default theme that kind of already has a template. So it makes it easy to just start with a template so you don't have to do much on design. But if you want to take on the challenge of designing your own website, I would recommend checking out a free plugin called Elementor, which we're about to get into. And Elementor has their own theme to go with their plugin called Hello Elementor. There's also the Astra theme, which goes well with Elementor as well. So it really doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm going to go ahead and just click on install here. So anytime you're ready to pick a theme, you can just click the blue install button and it'll install it to your website. So we're going to click install. I did it in a new tab, so it's just going to go ahead and install it. We're going to see that it's installed successfully. Now, if we want to activate it, this will make it become the current theme for my website. So it will replace the WordPress 2022. So I'm going to go ahead and just click activate here. And now Hello Elementor is my default theme. We can see it says active. So this is the active one. This is now my backup theme that's just sitting here. It's not going to be live. It's not going to be shown. It's just sitting here on this page. So actively right now is the Hello Elementor theme. So let's go back out and take a peek at our homepage. Let's see if it changed much installing the Hello Elementor theme. So again, you can see it looks a little bit different now. This is just a real out-of-the-box basic theme. It goes with the Elementor plugin. So my website doesn't look good yet until I start using Elementor to actually design my pages from scratch. So again, Real quick, before we get into Elementor and how to design your own pages from scratch, let's go back here to the theme page. So again, you can scroll down and just take a look at all these themes. You can search here. So if you're like a real estate website, you might type in real estate, and you can see there's themes out there that people have designed geared towards real estate agents, for example. So you might find some different pre-made template themes using the search bar, using different filter features. You can find the most popular themes, the latest themes, different things like that. And if you want to upload a theme, if you bought one on another website somewhere, there's websites out there that sell themes. You can pay $50, $70, $100 to buy the zip file, and then the zip file gets downloaded to your computer. And then once it's in your computer files, you'll come here to upload theme. You'll go find that zip file from your computer, and you'll import that zip file, and then it'll unbox the zip file and you'll activate it and install it, kind of similarly to how we did by clicking this install button here on these ones that are already in the WordPress library. So that's another option. You can go to upload theme, but again, I chose to use Elementor as the page builder for building out my pages, and I chose to use the Hello Elementor theme to go with it. So we just came in here, found the Hello Elementor theme, installed it. So let me go ahead and show you plugins real quick before we get into the Elementor plugin. So plugins, this is now where we're going to add cool features to our website. So let's say we want to add pop-ups on our website. We want to add social media icons. We want to add contact forms. Maybe we want to add a Google map to show people where our business is located. Maybe I want to add a weight loss calculator. You can add a lot of cool fancy features by just installing plugins. So again, it's kind of like themes. Under appearance, under themes, we're just going to click this add new button now under plugins. So when we click add new, it's going to take us to the WordPress plugin library page, kind of similarly to the themes page. So we can scroll down all these different plugins. We can click on the most popular ones, and we can search them in the search bar. So for this one, what I want you to do is I want you to start off searching Elementor. So this is a page builder that's going to help you build pages to make them look really cool, really fancy. I've already installed it ahead of time, but you would just come here to Elementor Website Builder, click on the Install Now button, and then click on Activate, and it'll say active once you activate it. There's also the essential add-ons I installed as well to go with it. It adds some additional features like data tables, calendars, all kinds. There's 40 different extra elements that they add that you can do different drop-in widgets to your pages to make them even more customized. And then I also signed up for Elementor Pro. I paid an annual subscription fee for Elementor Pro. You can go to asknickfoy.com/ I believe Elementor-Pro, or just go to asknickfoy.com/Elementor. It should take you to the Elementor Pro page, but that's an affiliate link that'll give me credit for sending you there if you want to help me out. But regardless, Elementor Pro adds or unlocks additional features to make your website have even more customization options to it. So Elementor is one of the first plugins we want to install. And then after that, we want to install a couple other plugins. So I like the Yoast SEO plugin. This is a plugin that's going to allow us to write better content for your website so that it's optimized for Google. So when we're doing our blog articles, like I was showing you earlier in this tutorial, Yoast SEO will analyze your blog post when it's all said and done, and it'll tell you things that you can fix or things that you might want to add to your blog article to make it better for Google search so that you have a better chance of getting found in Google search. So it's a great plugin that gives you some tips so that you can analyze each article. It's like a software that analyzes your article. It'll scan your article and tell you different tips of things you need to fix or change to give you the best chance to get found in Google if your goal is to get your website traffic from Google. You can also find different social media widgets. So we can just type in social icons. Now Elementor should already have some built in, but if you're not using Elementor, you can find different social media share buttons that you can install and add to your website so that these social icons pop up on your website when people are browsing different pages, giving them a chance to either follow you on social media or click the share button to share certain articles, certain pages of your website onto their social media to help you gain additional traffic and exposure on the web. We also want to make sure we have a fast website. So we can type in like catching plugins, so CACHE. So if you just type in catch, you're going to find all these different catching plugins. What this does is anytime people visit your website, it pretty much logs them and saves your website pages. So next time they come back to your website, those pages load much faster because that user, that visitor has been there before. So it catches their data, your data gets cached into their browser. That way, it loads pages quicker. So, when you go onto Google and you go into your Google settings, these little 3 icons up here, and you find where you can clear your browser history, you can clear your cache files, clearing that kind of data resets everything so that the next time you go to a website, it's like going to a website for the first time again. So pages will reload or refresh and take longer to load. So after visiting that website, it'll catch that data again. And then next time you go back to that website, it'll load quicker the next time. So that's what catching does. Again, a lot of people can manually clear their cache in Google, but in this case, it helps when your users come back to your website so that it catches things so that it loads faster the next time. So it's a plugin to help speed up your website. Simple. That's the short way to explain it. It's important. You don't need to know too much about how it works, how to, what all the technicalities are behind it. Just know that installing a catching plugin should help make your website load faster, which is one of the ultimate goals. You don't want people on your website getting frustrated that your website pages are loading slow. All right, a couple other important plugins. You can type in security and you can find different security plugins. So these are going to help protect your website from malware, viruses. Different people are going to try to hack your website, potentially, not necessarily, but potentially people might try to hack your website. So installing some sort of security plugin like WordFence, for example, is a great way to add some extra protection to keep your website up and running so that hackers don't take it down. They don't inject malware into your pages, which I've had happen before, where they injected links to some pharmaceutical websites trying to promote some pharmaceutical pills. And it got really annoying because people would click on those links by mistake and get taken off my website to these spammy websites promoting pharmaceutical products. So malware is no fun if it gets injected into your web pages. So having WordFence security is good. It'll alert you when people are trying to log into your website, trying to hack you. It'll alert you of other security issues so you can get them corrected before they become major problems. All right, so we've talked about Yoast SEO for monitoring your website for Google traffic. We talked about WordFence for protecting, giving your website security, catching plugins to make your website faster. And then one other plugin that's super important is called the backup plugin. So we're going to find Updraft Plus WordPress backup plugin right here, 3 million active installs. This is a great plugin to make sure your WordPress website continually auto backs itself up to the cloud. If you have Dropbox, if you use Google Drive, if you're using Microsoft, for example, if you use Amazon cloud storage. So there's different cloud storage systems out there. You can get a free Google Drive cloud storage, I believe 2 gigabytes. Maybe it's gone up to 10 or 20 gigabytes of free storage before you have to start paying for it. But you can sign up for these different accounts, get some free initial account storage space, and then set up this plugin to back up to the cloud. So if your website would ever go down and you'd have to, delete files and then re-upload the backup files, you'd have those backup files on hand to do so. If you lost your website, if your website went down and you had to, revert back to some old files from the past, you wouldn't have them backed up. You'd be in big trouble. So make sure you use a backup plugin. This is a great one, Updraft Plus. It's super easy to set up. Again, I've got other tutorial videos where I can show you how to set it up. You can check on my channel. All right, so that's going to be it for the basic plugins you want to have to make sure your website's backed up, secured, pages are loading fast, and your pages are optimized for getting found in the search engines. After that, you can play around and think about what other things you want to have on your website. Again, for your contact pages, maybe some Google Maps, maybe some contact forms. You can subscribe to some email plugins that hook up to your email software. So if you're using Salesforce or MailerLite, ConvertKit, MailChimp, for example, MailChimp's one a lot of people have heard of. You can connect to those platforms as well by using a plugin to connect your website. So when people fill out email forms, it automatically sends their data over to your CRM or your database on those email softwares that you're using. All right, so let's go into Elementor a little bit here. I think we've covered everything. We've got posts, we've got plugins, we've covered appearance with themes, we've covered users, tools, settings, Comments is where you'd manage comments. Pages is a lot like posts. You just add new pages. So if you want to add a home page, an about page, a contact page, rather than adding it as a blog post, that doesn't make sense. You want it to actually be a web page itself, like a home page or an about page. You would do so under pages. Again, it's real similar to posts. We just click add new pages here. So that's actually what I'm going to do to start kind of combining this with the Elementor plugin I want to show you how to use. So once we've installed Elementor and we've activated it, you're going to notice when you go to add a new page. So in this case, we'll let this be our about page, for example. So we'll give our about page a title and call it the about page. I usually just call it about. I don't even add the word page. Now you're going to notice the edit with Elementor button up here at the top. So this won't show up until you've installed the Elementor plugin and activated it. You've turned it on. Now that it's activated, you'll see this button here. So we're going to give our page a title. We're going to go ahead and click Save Draft so that it updates it. Now our page has a title. It's got a URL, nixdemowebsite.com/about. So this is the website people can visit when they want to go to your About page. So once that's done, we're ready to click on Edit with Elementor. So we're going to click on that. It's going to totally refresh the page, and it's going to look totally different because this is a page builder plugin. So this is a plugin that allows you to drag and drop these different widgets into the page to build your own page from scratch. It's kind of like what we were doing with the blog post editor, how we were dragging different content blocks like paragraphs, images into the page to create our blog post page. It's really the same thing. I just like how Elementor seems much easier, much more user-friendly than using the classic WordPress block editor. So in this case, again, we can give our page a title by starting off with a heading. So we can drop in a heading. We can go back here to this little hamburger icon kind of blocks here. You can see all the different blocks when you click on this. So we'll go back here, we'll grab an image, maybe drag our image in. All right, we'll go back here. Maybe after we show our heading and we show our image, we want to go ahead and give a paragraph about ourselves here. Or maybe we want it to be one of those 2-column paragraphs where half the text shows up on one side of the page and half the text shows up on the other side of the page. So we can do so with the intersection widget. So really this part just takes a lot of practice, a lot of playing around. You're going to have to come in here and just kind of play around with each widget to kind of understand what they all do. So again, the heading widget, this is where we'd start off with like our page title and then maybe some text underneath it if we don't want to go straight to an image. So we can play around with these. On my About page, for example, one thing I might do is put some text next to my image so the image isn't so big. So in that case, we might want to use that intersection where it gives us 2 columns side by side. So now all I have to do is come up here and kind of grab onto the pencil. So I'm just going to click and hold. So click and hold, and then I'm going to start dragging with my mouse until that comes inside the box there, and then I'm going to let go. And now that pops that little image widget into that half of the page. Then I can come grab my text, little pencil, grab and hold, and drag and drop, and boom, now we've got our text in there. So on my About page, I might start typing in about Nick Foy, for example, if this is my About page about myself. So I might put a profile picture of myself here, a headshot I took, and then I might start typing about myself, depending on what kind of website this is. If this is a fitness website, then I'd start talking about my personal trainer background of how I got certified in personal training, how I've done this for 10 plus years. Here's, things that you'll learn if you work with me as your personal trainer. So again, this is the About page. It's just going to be things where you can put pictures of yourself, put text about yourself. And then maybe I want to put, Google Maps to show people where my business is located. If I have a gym that I want people to come to in person. So again, we can come out here and drag and drop Google Maps. And now we've got Google Maps here. So we can just click on the little pencil icon to edit our location. We can type our location in here. All right, so now that we've kind of gone over some of the basics of how we come here to the left side using these different widgets, we're dragging them over here to the page. Let's talk a little bit more about how to customize each of the settings of these widgets. So once we go through here and we find widgets we want our page to have on it, and we've dragged them over into our page, and we can move them around by, dragging and dropping things and moving it around. Let's talk about how to actually edit the settings of these widgets to do what we want. All right, so I'm going to have more tutorials on how to use Elementor. It's an amazing, plugin to add to your website, to give lots of cool things you can do with it to build your website pages, especially if you're a beginner. I mean, you can see here, we're not doing any coding at all. Like, we're building out website pages right now, just dragging and dropping different widgets. You don't have to know any coding, so it's super user friendly. So anytime we design a page, there's really 3 layers. The top layer is going to be what's called a section. So this is like, the entire section here that houses our heading here, our image, and our other text box. These are all falling within one general section. And then our next section has our Google map in it. So this is its own section. So you can see when I hover over here, this little tab pops up because it's in its own section. So this becomes useful down the road when we're trying to add spacing and padding between different sections to give them space. So if I don't like how the Google Maps is hugging so tightly to my image here, I could adjust the settings for this section by going into the Advanced tab. And this is where margin and padding are. So I can create some top margin to get my Google Maps a little bit further down the page away from, a section that's right above it. So this is where we can start off customizing settings in our sections by just clicking on the tab here, kind of in the middle. You can also right click it sometimes and click edit section. And once you get it right, once you click it right, you should notice the settings kind of pop up over here. You'll see it says edit section. So that's how you know you did it right. So there's 3 different tabs here. There's always the layout tab, the style tab, and the advanced tab. Same thing when we go into the next layer, which is columns. And then when we go into the next layer, which is the actual element itself, like the image box or the text box or the map, those are the actual elements themselves. So this is where you can click on the pencil to edit those. But they're always going to have, 3 tabs up here. The advanced tab is pretty much the same in all of them. This is where you can find, margin and padding. So if you want to change padding for the section, if you want to change padding just for a certain column or just for a certain element, you can go into that specific element, for example. Like I can click here on the edit icon. Now I'm editing the text editor. It says right here, I'm editing the text editor. So I just go to advanced again. I can customize the padding and the margin, and that'll move the text up and down here relative to this image. So I'm getting a little advanced here. So let me go back. So just letting you know, there's 3 different tabs here, and they pretty much stay pretty consistent, regardless of whether you're in the section, whether you're in the column, or whether you're in the element itself. So again, the section houses the columns and the elements. So section is the top level. That's the first thing. Then inside each section might be columns. So in this case, we just have 1 column here. And then in this case, we have 2 columns. So we have a general column that's got, the text box up here. And then here we have 2 different columns. You can see as I hover over here, the little column icon in the left corner here, edit column. As I hover over here, this is another column. So it's split the page into 2, whereas this one down here is just a 1 column. It's a single column. It spans the entire width of the page. So you can decide how you want to break a page up. Sometimes you might want 3 different columns where the page has, a column here, a column in the middle, and a column to the right. Sometimes you might want 1 wide spanning column, and then sometimes we do like we did here with 2 columns. You got splitting the page in half. So it really comes down to your design preference. You'll figure it out kind of as you go, playing around with web design. But starting off with my title, so again, this is in its own column, but I want to actually fix the text here. So we can either just click on it and it should pull open the edit heading settings here, which we can make sure we're on the heading settings, or we can go click the little pencil icon. So with the widgets themselves that we dragged and dropped, like text boxes, image boxes, you can edit those by clicking on the pencil icon, which is always in the right corner, or we can right click on them and click edit, whatever that widget is. So in this case, edit the text editor. In this case, edit the image by right clicking and seeing this drop down menu. But a lot of times I just prefer to find the little pencil icon in the top right corner. So we click on that. Now we can go in here and change the text out if we want. We can align it. So I might center it in this case using the alignment. It's starting off with an H2 tag, which means it's a heading 2. So heading 2 is kind of like the big font here, and then as you go down it gets smaller to where you're using paragraph font or heading 3 font, heading 4 font. It's getting a little technical, but make sure if it's like the heading, it's got heading tag. If it's a paragraph, it's using the paragraph tag. Other than that, we can go into style and start customizing the size, the color. So if we don't want black, maybe I want red. You know, if I'm going with a certain theme, if I'm using green on my website, maybe I want the text for the heading to be green. We can go into typography and change the font family from Roboto to maybe Road Rage, for example. So now we can see the font just changed. So we'll go back to Roboto. If we want to change the size, we can use the scroll bar, or we can type in a size or click these arrows. So I might want to blow this up and make it really big. So there we go, 129, it gets really big. We can take it back down to like 72. We've got the image widget here. This will be the next one I want to click on to start customizing. But in the meantime, you can just play around here with some of the style settings. You can see here, we've got weight. It's bold right now at 800. If we want to make it skinny, we can go back to like 200 for the weight. So weight would be how bold your text is. So again, a lot of times your headings, you might want more bold. Your paragraph text, you might want more skinny to kind of get that contrast going. If we want to transform it to uppercase letters, we can click on that and it'll transform it to uppercase. So again, it's going to take some time navigating around these different settings to kind of learn where everything's at. Once you memorize where things are at, your web design skills will go much faster. You'll be able to create these pages in like 20 minutes once you learn how to click in and out of the different settings tabs, like the pencil versus, you know, the column settings versus clicking on the tab here if you're doing a section. So there's different tricks that you're gonna have to learn, but you'll be able to go fast once you kind of memorize the layout and where things are at. So style, this just has all your style stuff, colors, fonts, sizes. Content is the actual content itself, customizing the content, links, text, what it says. And then advanced is always the spacing. So margin, padding, you know, if I want to add some space above my words, if I want to add space below. Right now it starts linking everything together. So as I increase the top, it also increases right, left, and bottom at the same time. If I want to get rid of that, I can get rid of it and I can just delete these out. And you can see the text is moving. So now we've only added top padding. So we added some space above my text, but we didn't add it below or on the sides of it. So maybe now I want to add some space below. So I'll add some space below by just increasing it. So we added 30. And again, this is in pixels, but you're also welcome to click on percentage of the page if you want to, you know, worry about how much percentage of the page it is. I prefer to go in pixels and just kind of play around with it that way. So until it looks good. So I just keep pressing the up button until the spacing goes down enough that it looks good. So in that case, I think the title of the page now is not hugging the image or the text. So this looks a little bit better. So we'll leave it at that. All right, a few other things to note. If you want things to show up a certain way based on what people are viewing it, like on their phone or their tablet or on a computer screen, you can choose to hide things. So if I don't want my image to show up on mobile, I can hide it on mobile or I can hide it on tablet so that maybe it's causing an issue. Maybe this image isn't sizing right on mobile. It looks funky and we can't get it after trying all the different settings that we still can't get it right. Maybe we want to hide that image on mobile and we want to figure out how to create a different style of image for mobile so that it looks better on mobile. So you got to remember, people are looking at your website on mobile, desktop, and on iPads or tablets these days. So that's one of the features. We can come down here when we're all done into responsive mode and we can change the mode we're viewing our page from. So you can actually see by clicking this button here and going to the mobile section, it'll resize the page and now we can see how someone would see it on mobile. So on mobile, this might look way too big. Maybe I don't like my text being that big. So now I can come change the style settings for my heading so that it shrinks the text back down to, you know, a more reasonable font size. So we'll take it up here to maybe 28 this time. So instead of 72, we change the size to 28. Now this size change effect takes place only for mobile. So we can revert back by clicking on desktop and it goes back to its normal size on desktop. So somebody on desktop is going to see the layout where we've got a text box here, image on the left, text on the right. Now mobile, your phone screen is not very wide, so you can't fit your image next to your text box on a two column like we did on a desktop computer. So what it did is it stacked them on top of each other. So we've got, you know, our title of our page. Now the image shows up first, then the text shows up underneath it. So someone on their phone is going to be scrolling down, and so they're going to see things in that order. They're going to see the image first, then the text, because Back on desktop, image was on the left, so things on the left show first, and then things on the right show second underneath. So it just stacked them on top of each other. So again, when you're done making your page for desktop, make sure you come in here to the responsive mode, change it to tablet, change it to phone, and make sure things still look okay. And if your font gets all screwed up on tablet or on your phone, you can just click the edit and go in and change until things look right by changing the sizes. Go into advanced to change the padding. Maybe we don't like the spacing, how it looks on mobile. We want to get rid of that space between the text and the image. So I can go in here and just, put in 0, and it just deleted out the space that was between. So now it looks a little bit better on mobile. We go back to desktop, it's still there. The spacing's still there. So it doesn't take effect for all 3 pages. It only takes effect for whatever specific page type you're working on. So it sounds like extra work, but a lot of times you design on desktop first, you go optimize for mobile later, and just make some minor tweaks on mobile. It doesn't really take that long to fix the mobile page. All right, a few other things to note here is that we can go into motion effects as well. This is another way to add some cool features. So if you want your words to come hopping into the page or bouncing into the page, you can add some cool motion effects. If you want to transform things, you can rotate it, you can scale it so it blows up bigger as it's coming into the page. So there's some cool effects, like when people hover over the words, you can make them expand and get bigger and have kind of a motion effect to them. So these are some ways to make your website a little bit more fancy rather than just a plain page with some text and images. So this gets a little bit more advanced here, but that's why it's under the advanced tab. All right, for images, we'll go into the edit tab here. This is where you can choose your image. So we'd upload one of ourselves here if we wanted to. We can choose what size image we want to put here. We can choose if we're going to align it, left it, center it, right it. If we want our image to link out to another page, like maybe Amazon, we're promoting a product. So I put a protein supplement picture here and I want to link it to Amazon. You could add a custom URL to Amazon. If we want to change our size of our image, we go under style. We can play around with the width and the size of the image until it looks right, proportionate to how much text we have over here to the right. If we want a hover effect, we can mess around with the hover effect, adding an animation to it, like pulse grow, for example. So when someone hovers it, you can see how it kind of pulses. All right, so that's a hover effect there. So there's some cool style things you can play around in. We go into advanced. Again, we can play around with spacing above and below our image. We can make our image not show up on mobile or desktop by messing around with responsive settings. So text, pretty straightforward. We went through the heading text. It's going to be the same as our normal text box. So we can go back to style, play around with our color, our typography, our fonts, our alignment. So pretty straightforward. For Google Maps, we'll click on the edit. We can type in our location. We can zoom in how close we want. So if we want it to go all the way into like our specific street we're on, we can get really zoomed in, or we can zoom it out so they can see maybe where we are relative to the overall city in general. So maps, cool way to add a cool feature to your about page. All right, so there's plenty of widgets here to browse and look through to add to your website page. When it's all said and done, you're just going to click on the green publish, or if you're not ready, you can click here and click on save draft by clicking this little arrow. And if you like this page and you set up a template you want to use in the future, so maybe I set up a product page where this was the title of the product, this was the image of the product, maybe this was my product description, and then maybe I had like a checkout or add to cart button I added down here. So I want to save this basic template page to use in the future. We can also save it as a template. That way next time we can come in here and preload a template and save ourselves from having to totally redesign everything again. So it saves a little bit of time. So I actually do that a lot of times, especially on like my real estate website. If I set up custom property pages that I have for sellers to highlight their property on my website, I might preload a template to show them to save me time so I don't have to redesign that page each time. Other than that, you can preview any change that you're making to your page to see how it looks live by clicking this little eye icon here. So we click on the little eye icon, it'll open a new tab for us. Now we can see how our page looks out on the web. Now again, this isn't my best design. This is just a general basic tutorial showing you the basics. So I really didn't put any effort into this page. So it really doesn't look that good right now, but here's the preview page. So as I go, if I decide to change my text here, so we go back to content, maybe I just delete my name and we just write the words about. So if I go ahead here and I click Save Draft again, you're going to notice a little green bar load across the top of the screen real fast. It zooms by. That tells you the page is saved. You're also going to notice this tab over here reloaded. It refreshed itself automatically. So when we click back over here, you're going to notice it's updated. So you don't have to worry about refreshing the page yourself. It'll auto refresh for you. So anytime you're making changes, it'll auto refresh over here and make them live. So you can just keep clicking back and forth, taking a peek. All right, that looks good. And then you can go back here and make some more edits. Then go back here. All right, that looks good. And you can just keep doing that. So you don't have to stress about getting in and out of this page over and over and over, trying to see what it looks like live on your website. Other than that, let's see if there's anything else important here. We've got settings. Sometimes if you want to change what your page is called, we titled it our About page earlier. You can find that here. If you're ready to make it published, you can change the status here, or you can go down and click the actual publish button. If you want to give it a featured image, if you want to hide the title, like we don't like that little word about there. So I actually just noticed that about, I don't like that being there since we put it here. So we can actually hide the title by clicking that setting to yes. Page layout was pretty much just a blank canvas, and then it automatically had our menu. So this was an example menu I made previously, which I'll walk you through here shortly. But this menu automatically shows up by default. If we don't want a menu on the page, we can actually go to a blank canvas. So Elementor canvas here, we'll just click on that. We'll refresh the page, and that'll get rid of the menu. So maybe we're trying to do like an email opt-in page where we don't want any distractions of our menu to them to click to another page. So we just want them to focus on what we're trying to offer them to get them to subscribe to our email list, or specifically like a sales page. We don't want them clicking out to other pages. We want them focused on our sales page. So we can get rid of that by doing just a blank canvas page with nothing already preset on it. So it'll get rid of your menu, and it'll get rid of your footer that might be down here that has your copyright and some other links down here. So it'll get rid of all that and just make a blank page you can start from scratch. So again, the little gear icon gets you back to these settings. So we can just leave it at default for now. All right, if you need to change anything, you've got history here. So if we made some edits and we realize we screwed up, you can go back and find previous versions of the page and you can upload those. So it'll take you back to like before we edited our heading here. So this will refresh the page all the way back to where we had it, maybe say about without, changing the size or whatever that edit was. So you can go back using history. There's navigator you can click on. That'll pull up a little navigator. So sometimes it's a pain in the butt. If we want to rearrange this, maybe I wanted to change so I have this section show up first. I might have to sit here and try to figure out how to drag and drop it. So I just dragged and dropped it. So now my map shows up first. So that's section 1 that shows up first. Then they come down here to section 2. So if I want to go back and rearrange this, it might be a pain to sit here and try to drag and drop things, especially if we have lots of sections we're trying to rearrange. We can actually just click on this little navigator icon, and we can sit here and drag and drop these much easier. So I can just drag and drop that one below, and now it pulled my maps back down below this about section. So navigator can be useful. We can see kind of a layout of our page when we click the down arrow. I can see I've got a column here within the section, and then within the column I can see I have a heading and an intersection, and then within the intersection. So it creates kind of like this embedded layered structure of your page here. So you can find specific elements of your page that you want to move around or adjust or edit. You can also click this little eye icon, and that'll get rid of it. So you can hide it if you want to preview what your page would look like if you got rid of certain things that you might want to delete, but you don't want to delete them yet. A few other things you can do. If you like this text box and this layout and you want to replicate it, you can just like hit Control-C to copy it, or you can right click and click on copy, and then you can just come down here into like this open space, and we can right click, hit paste, and it'll paste that entire section for us. So if I'm doing this across multiple pages, maybe I set up my map once and I don't want to have to redo it again on another page, I can just copy this whole section of the map and I can go into other pages on my website and just paste it in real quickly to save a lot of time. All right, next let's talk about a few other things here. When we want to upload a new template that we have saved, Well, one of the first things we'll do, we'll go ahead and just exit out of these sections to clear them out and pretend that we got a brand new page going. All right, so here we can come and start off by creating new sections, new widgets. But if I already have a page I've built saved as a template, you'll want to click on the little folder here. This is where you can find your pre-saved templates that you've already saved. You're also going to find all the ones that have already been pre-made by different users that use Elementor, as well as the Elementor team themselves. So I just spent a long time showing you how to design your own page from scratch, but you can also find inspiration or templates to go off of by coming in here to these templates. So you can scroll through here and look for about pages or contact pages that are already pre-made and ready to go, that you just have to customize text and images, but the layout is already set up for you. Or the pricing page, for example. If you're selling something, this is a pre-made pricing page or a pre-made schedule page if you're hosting classes like you're a fitness trainer. So again, this is a great way to save a lot of time. You will notice a lot of these templates have a pro logo. You have to be a pro member to get access to them. There are some free ones, however, that you can find and you can search for in the search bar. But again, I'm a pro subscriber. I pay the annual $79 a year to be a pro subscriber. It's worth it to me to get access to these templates and additional widgets that you get access to. So back here under Elementor, you'll notice this section's called Pro. All these would have a little locked symbol on them, meaning you don't have access to them unless you have Pro. So these are widgets you get access to once you have Elementor Pro and you pay for it. So portfolio, post, gallery, login, slides, forms, if you want to collect information through forms, navigation menus, pricing tables, call to actions, testimonials, countdowns, share buttons, Facebook like buttons, different templates, different embeds, different video playlists. So a lot of cool things here, including a PayPal button that you can have access to with Elementor Pro. All right, I've been going 100 miles an hour, going fast. I know this tutorial's long, but I've tried to go fast through things. Let's talk about our header up here now. Let's talk about the menu. You can use Elementor to actually build your own header, your own menu, and save it as a template and then set it to be the default header for your entire website. That's one way to go about it. Or you can use the default WordPress menu header that WordPress creates. So if we go back out here to our dashboard, you're going to notice under Appearance, there should be, if we refresh here, there should be a setting called Menu typically found under Appearance. So when we refresh, we find Appearance, we scroll over, we've got Menus, we'll click on Menus. This is where we're going to set up our first menu. So you're going to go ahead and just click on Create a New Menu if it's your first one. I've already saved a little bit of time by creating this example menu. So we've got a menu here I've titled Main Navigation Menu, so I know it's my main menu for my website. Sometimes you might create a secondary menu that only shows up on specific pages, so you want to give them specific names. Now, once you create your menu and you hit save, you're going to notice there's a bunch of different pages, posts, or custom links over here that you can grab and pull into your menu. Now, I currently don't have any pages created yet. So what we did was we added different categories. So I set up different category pages and I added those to my menu. So if mine's like a news website, I might have different news categories that people can click on in my menu to see different articles tied to those different topics. Or we can create custom links. So I could type in my website domain /about/contact, custom URLs here, and then give a custom name to it. So again, since we were just setting up our about page, I could do, Nick's demo website.com/about if that's my URL to my about page, and then type in about here. Or we might be able to find it here under pages. If we actually would have published it, I didn't click publish yet, so it's not live to where it would show up under my pages yet. But we can give it a custom link here, click add to menu, and you'll see it pop in here. So now we can do the about. So let me go ahead and just click on remove. So all I'm doing here, if I don't want something in my menu, is clicking the little drop down arrow, clicking on remove, click the drop down arrow, click on remove over and over until you get rid of the ones you don't want anymore. Go back here to custom links. Maybe this time we'll type in Nick's demowebsite.com and just let it be the home link URL. So I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this so I don't have to do it each time, but this time we'll call it home. So anytime we want someone to go to my home page, nixdemowebsite.com, they go to that link. Maybe we have a contact page, so I'll paste that back in, nixdemowebsite.com/contact, and then we'll give it the title contact. All right, click add to menu. Now we've got a contact page. We'll paste that back in. Maybe this time we want to have a store. So we create a store page and we're going to give it the name store. So again, these are pre-made pages you're going to have to set up and give custom URLs to ahead of time before you do this. Right now, if I tried to go to any of these pages, since they don't exist, by the time I click on these links, it'll take me to an error page. So I'll go ahead and click on Save Menu. What I'm going to do is go back here to Pages. I'm going to go to Add New. I'm going to open about 4 of these. So I just right-click, open in a new tab 4 times so we can get 4 different pages to open up here. And now we're going to have these custom blank pages where we can give them titles. So again, we're going to create the one called Home, which is just going to be our home page. And I'm going to show you how to set that as your home page here as well. Next, we're going to do the one called About. All right, click Publish. Once you click Publish, it becomes a live URL. So take note of that. People can find it on your website and they can go to it. So if it's not ready yet to be live, don't click Publish until it's ready. Or don't put it in your menu so that people can't find it until it's actually ready to be found. But I'm going to do it just for this case because nobody's going to be on my website, and this isn't a real website, so it really doesn't matter right now. So, all right, so what I'm going to do is go back here, click Save Menu to make sure my menu saves. All right, so navigation menu's been updated. We want to make sure that it's displayed in our header. So all that looks good. So let's go out here to our website now and see if it's updated at this point. So we can see now we've got our home, our about, our contact, and our store. We can see that if we click into any of these, it'll take us to an actual page. Since we've actually created the page by going to Add New, Add Page, we gave the page a title, and we click Publish so that we actually have the page created and ready to go. So now we can see it took us to those actual pages. All right, so that's how you'd set up a menu bar up here by just going into Appearance, into Menus, adding different pages to your website, clicking on the pages you want, adding them into your menu, clicking Save Menu, and giving it a location. In this case, we want it to be located in our header. So that's that for the menu. Next, I want to show you how to set your home page that we created called Home as our home page. So we're going to go back here into Settings. We're going to go back into the Reading tab, and we're going to go ahead and show that our home page displays as our latest posts. So once we've created some pages, you'll be able to do this setting. If you haven't created pages yet, you might not see this setting as an option. It might start you off showing you, this section and on down. But now that we've created some pages, we can see our homepage displays as our latest blog post. I want my homepage to be the actual page that I'm calling home. So we're going to click on a static page here, find the home page, drop down, and pick the home page here that we titled home. So that set that as the home page. Now, if we want to go here and click on Add a New Page, now this time we'll go ahead and just create one called Blog. So this is going to be the page that hosts our blog posts. So every time we add a new blog post, it'll get added to this page. So it'll be like a drop-down list page that has all of our articles on it. All right, so let me go ahead and click Save Changes. It'll refresh everything again. That's what you're going to notice a lot of times. You're going to have to refresh a lot, save a lot, refresh a lot for things to update. So post page, this time it shows up this time, so we can click on Blog. We'll go ahead and click Save Changes again. Now we've got our home page set to the one we dedicated as our home page. We've got our blog article post page set to the one we dedicated called Blog. So again, we can go back in here to all pages. We can see a list of all our different pages here, and we can start going in, editing these pages and designing them, from scratch, or using the templates that I showed you how to find the template library if you use the Elementor plugin. All right, a few more things to note about our header. Once you've set up your menu, you might be asking, how do we get a logo for it? So if you have a theme installed, sometimes your theme settings will have a section. So in this case, we'll go to Customize. This is where we can customize our theme settings. So Site Identity, this is the first tab of settings. So we're going to find one called Logo. This is where I could put a logo in. Once I upload a logo image here by clicking on this, picking our logo image, hitting Select, we can crop it if we want, or we can skip cropping. And then we're going to go ahead and click publish. And now it's going to add it as a logo to our page. So in this case, the image is way too big. So we're going to have to resize that image and make it smaller for it to fit better on the page. But that's where your logo is going to go. It's just finding that customization setting in your themes or appearances settings, and you'll find a section where you can add a logo. And then if you're doing the Elementor version where I showed you earlier, you can build your header using Elementor. So in this case, we might add a new section here. Then I might go to widgets here, and I might scroll down. In this case, since I have Elementor Pro, I'm going to click on nav menu, and I'm going to upload it here. So now we've got our nav menu. Now I want to create 2 columns. So I'm going to right click and click on just add a new column here. And then I'm going to drag and rearrange this so that blank column is first, my menu second. Now what I'm going to do is go back here and we can scroll down to where it says WordPress, and we can find our WordPress site logo down here. Or what I also can do is I can go here and just grab like an image, and I can pop the image in. Now we can choose our image. We can go back here, select this if we want it to be our logo. All right. Now again, this is just for illustrative purposes. I would create an actual logo, but I'm doing this to save some time here. So now we want to fix how this looks. So it starts you off equal, 50-50. We don't need that. You can see the example header here. It has everything off to the left-hand side. So we're going to replicate that. So we're going to go into the column settings, and we're going to see our column width percentage. So this column, I don't want to be 50% of the page. I might want it to be 10%. So that just shrunk my logo down to 10. And then it made their other column resized by default to 90. So it always balances out to 100. So if this one's 10, then this one's 90. If this one gets changed to 80, this one will get changed to 20. So it'll balance it out so that it adds up to span the entire width here, which would be 100%. Now in this case, I don't like how close everything is here. So what I'm going to do is go into the actual nav menu settings, and I might change the alignment to centered, or I might align it to the right. Or we can leave it, unaligned, just didn't mess with it at all. But we can go into our settings here and we can mess around with the padding. So I can add some padding from the left, for example, and that'll start pushing things over to the right by giving it some padding. So that's another way we can tweak the spacing here. I also don't like how big the font is, so I can go here to style, and then we can go down here to typography, and we can play around. We can see it's set to 40. So we might tone it down to like 22 or 21, for example, so it's a little bit more realistic. All right, so again, that's how you can kind of build your own custom header, adding in an image box for your logo, adding in, your nav menu here. You can even link your image box here if you want to link it back to your home page. We can add a custom URL to our home page here. When it's all said and done, we might right-click this and click Save as a Template, so we can save it as a header in the settings, and then later we can make this the default header for our entire website. So just right-click, Save as Template, and we can click on Enter Template Name. So we'll call this our header. That way we know it's for our entire website. It's our menu bar we're going to use. All right, we can come here and delete it if we don't like it. We can click Insert on certain pages if we want to use it for certain pages. But there's also a way to make it, your global header for your entire website. All right, so that's the basics of setting up the default WordPress menu and default WordPress kind of header section, or going into Elementor and kind of building your own, how to add a logo. Other than that, let's go back out here to our WordPress dashboard. So we'll get out of our customization settings for our theme here, take us back to our dashboard. Lastly, let's go into media here and talk a little bit more about images. So your media library is going to house all your media. So anytime you want to add new images to your website, you can come here and click Add New, or sometimes you have the option to add those images directly when you're on blog pages or on Elementor using image widgets. So you don't always have to come back out here and find your media library to add it first. You can do it sometimes within other pages. So when you do that, all of it's going to get stored here. If you decide you want to delete certain things to clear space on your website so it doesn't take up space, you can come in and delete it permanently. You can update your alt text, your title text, your captions. You can crop things by clicking Edit Image to readjust sizes of your images. A lot of times I like to size my images before I upload them into my media library. So I might use, some other third-party tools on the internet like bulkresizephotos.com, or I'll get into the Adobe suite and resize things with Lightroom or Photoshop or some other Adobe softwares out there before I bring them into my media library to make sure file sizes are optimized for my website. Now you can also click on Add New, and you can upload additional things besides images. Let's say you want to upload PDF files. So you want to give like ebooks away on your website. You can create an ebook where it's like a PDF file someone can download and start reading an ebook. So you can upload the actual PDF file to your website by clicking Select Files, finding your PDF on your computer and uploading it here. You can even upload, I believe, videos to your media library depending on the file size. You can see maximum file size has to be less than 256 megabytes, which sometimes videos will clash with that. So instead, one way to get around that is to go back into like Elementor, use like a video widget, drop it into a page, and then all you have to do is like paste in a YouTube link. So you can upload your video first to YouTube, maybe set it as private if you don't want people to find it on YouTube, and you can just, copy that YouTube video link here. And now you can add a video into your page, and YouTube's actually the one hosting the video for you. So you're not taking up space on your website by hosting the video in your media library, because the more stuff you add here to your media library, the more space it takes up on your website and your website files, and the slower over time your website will get from being a bulky, big website with all these different files it has to load. So sometimes it may make sense to host things third party like on YouTube and then import the link or embed link codes into your website so that people can still see the video, because the video file size would be, too big to import into your media library. All right, so that's really the basics of the media library. Not much more to go there. Once you have lots of items here, you can search things out with the search bar. You can, categorize things. If you want to find only like PDF files or only image files or only audio files, you can find, specific types of files or by date. You can bulk select items as well. So if you need to delete a bunch of things at once, you can click on a bunch of things at once using bulk select. That'll save a lot of time, so you don't have to manually one by one click into each image and go to delete permanently. Other than that, let's see here. Dashboard we covered, post we covered, all these different things. We've covered media at this point. We've covered pages, how to set up your home, about, contact pages, under pages. We've talked about comments, how to manage your comments, delete them, approve them. We've talked about Elementor, how to build out pages with Elementor, how to save pages as templates, how to create your menu with template. We've talked about appearance, how to install a theme to your WordPress website, how to create your first menu that people can navigate to your home page, your about page, your contact page. We've talked about plugins, how they add fancy features to your website, like making sure your website's secure, making sure your website's backed up, making sure you have a page builder like Elementor to build your pages with. So plugins add cool features to your website. Users help you create new user accounts if you want to add team members to help work on your website with you. Tools, not much here for now. Settings, general settings, optimizing your website title and time zone. Reading is where we optimize, setting our home page up to be our home page and setting our blog page for our blog posts. And then we talked a little bit about permalinks to make sure our URL structure is nixdemowebsite.com/ whatever my page name is. So it's not some special number code there. It's easier to go to nixdemowebsite.com/ about if I want them to go to the about page, for example. So that's really it. That's a lot of the basics I've covered here on WordPress, how to use WordPress. This has been a long tutorial, but we've made it through all the different tabs here on your WordPress dashboard to get set up and get you started. You have all the basics you need to start building your website as far as installing a theme to make your website start looking pretty, then installing the page builder to actually build your different pages, and how to actually set up those pages and title them under pages here. And once your website's made and ready to go, you can start creating a blog to try to get some traffic to your website, putting out blog articles on different topics so that people can search Google and find them on Google. All right, so one of my websites happens to be a golf website. So if I was a high school golf coach, typing in high school golf tips, for example, we can type in high school golf tips into Google, and then I start scrolling down the page here, and number one search result happens to be my golf website, golfpracticeguides.com. It's a blog article that I wrote. So someone's going to click on the blog article. The website page is going to load. You can see it took about 3 to 4 seconds to load. That's not very fast. You want to make sure your website's loading fast. So what I would do is come in here and optimize my page down the road once I've got everything kind of set up. This is later. You want to tweak things and optimize things. So you want to make sure your website page is loading faster. So in that case, it loaded eventually. So we start scrolling, we read the article here. I've got links going out to different products. I've got image banners going out to different products, trying to get them to sales pages. And then we can put Google ads on our page here if we want to monetize our page with Google ads. I prefer to promote my own products that I've created so I can make my own money and not promote other products of other people using Google ads. But if you don't have a product to promote, you can put Google ads on your articles so that people might click on those ads and you'll make money from Google AdSense. You create a Google AdSense account, make some money for having traffic come to your website. But it all starts by getting your articles created, getting them indexed and found on Google from different Google searchers. So that's a whole nother complicated process, but it's important to have a blog. I think blogs help your website get found and get you traffic, so you don't have to rely strictly on social media traffic or paying for ads to get traffic to your website. Blogs are a great free source of traffic to get people finding your website and putting you in the authoritative figure space. People come to my website because they think I have a good website that teaches them about golf. I have really good content about golf. If you follow my website, you're going to learn a lot about golf. So it's one of those dominant websites that has great content. That's why I get lots of traffic. People come back time and time again because they love my website and know that it has good content. That's what you want to get to with your WordPress website. Putting out good content in the form of blog articles that make people want to come read your content and look at you as the expert. If you can position yourself as the expert, you'll have no problem making money from your website. People will buy from you and you'll start to monetize your WordPress website. So that is going to be a whole other tutorial, how to set up different ways to monetize your website. I'm going to show you how to get up on Google AdSense, how to set up if you want to sell your own products to create like a store page with checkout features and products that they can add to their cart. So e-commerce, that's going to be a whole other WordPress tutorial. To make sure you subscribe to the channel and find that video on my channel. And if you enjoyed today's WordPress tutorial, please do me a big favor, give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so we can welcome you back to future videos.